The loudest sound you'll ever hear is the silence after you walk away. That's not just a quote, it's a reality check, my friends. Because when you stop contacting them, that's not when they forget you. That's when they start feeling you, hard. Not in the moment you sent your last message, but in the echo of your absence when the room goes quiet, when the attention disappears, and they realize you were the one bringing all the warmth, all the life, all the energy. And now, nothing. So before we dive deeper into what really happens when you stop reaching out, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because this message right here, it's going to shift something inside you. And when it does, you'll want more of this clarity, this strength, this power we're about to unlock. Stay with me till the end, because today we're breaking the lies and rewriting your mindset. Now, hey folks, imagine this. You've been the fire in someone's life, lighting up their dark corners, sending warmth, checking in, showing up, texting, calling, caring. But one day you step back, you go quiet, you take your flame away. And suddenly the whole room turns cold. At first, they might smirk like it doesn't bother them. Maybe even post a cute little quote about letting go or peace. But let me tell you, deep down, they're shivering. Because what they lost wasn't just a person. It was your energy, your consistency, your presence. And that's not something people forget overnight. They told you silence meant you were being petty, that not texting back was immature, that backing off meant you were losing. Folks, that's a lie, a straight-up trap. That's what people say when they relied on your energy and panicked the moment it disappeared. You weren't being cold, you were creating space. And space is where the truth starts to speak. Because when you stop contacting them, they no longer have a mirror to project on, no more reactions to manipulate, no more emotional cushion. Now they have to sit in their own silence. Now they have to ask themselves the question they've been avoiding. Why do I feel this empty if I never cared in the first place? You see, people don't feel the loss when you leave the room. They feel it when they realize you're not coming back. When you don't chase, when you don't double text, when your story isn't meant for them anymore. That's when they start scrolling through your old texts. That's when they notice you're not watching their stories. That's when they start asking mutual friends, have you heard from them? And all you did was stop. But let's break the biggest lie. If they don't reach out, they don't care. Wrong. Sometimes the silence you're getting back isn't confidence, it's confusion, it's internal chaos, it's someone hoping you'll make the first move again, because that's what you always did. But not this time. This time, you're moving different, you're grounded, you're focused, you're choosing peace over performance. You're no longer begging to be seen, you're no longer auditioning for a part in someone else's show. You're walking off the stage with grace, and trust me, the spotlight will follow you. So if you've ever wondered what happens when you stop contacting them, if you're in that quiet phase right now, questioning your own worth, wondering if they even care, I want you to breathe, right here, right now, and say this with me in the comments. I hold the power. That's your affirmation. Drop it below. Let the world see that you've stopped chasing, not because you're bitter, but because you finally remembered who you are. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and stay with me, because what we're about to reveal next will flip the script on everything you've been taught about love, silence, and power. Chapter 1. Silence doesn't mean nothing's happening, it means everything is. It's not the noise that breaks people, it's the silence they didn't expect. Let's hit this truth early, my friends. Just because they don't say anything doesn't mean they don't feel something. In fact, the deepest storms begin when everything outside goes still. That's when the inner chaos wakes up. That's when the truth gets loud. So when you stop contacting them, when the phone doesn't buzz, the messages stop flowing, the check-ins go quiet. Don't assume they've moved on. Don't assume they're dancing in peace. What's happening now is far louder than anything they could post, say, or pretend. Let me give you a picture. Imagine a musician playing every single day in someone's room. They get used to the melody. They don't even notice it anymore. It becomes background noise, part of the air. But the day that music stops, the silence hits like thunder. Now they're left with their thoughts. Now they're left with themselves. And that's uncomfortable. Your voice, your texts, your attention. It was music. Familiar, consistent, safe. And now that it's gone, the walls feel empty, the echo feels louder, and the silence, it's screaming questions they can't answer. This is where you start to doubt yourself. You wonder, if they cared, wouldn't they say something? Why does it feel like I'm the only one suffering? Did they already forget me? These thoughts come like waves, strong, relentless, choking, and if you're not grounded, you'll break your silence just to get a drop of reassurance. But here's the thing, they're not showing peace, they're hiding panic. Most people don't show their emotions outright. They mask it with distractions. They stay busy. They post. They laugh. They flirt with someone new. But just because someone is loud doesn't mean they're okay. You ever seen someone laugh too much at a joke that wasn't funny? That's what this is. Overperformance, overcompensation. It's a show. And behind that performance is a person wondering why your energy suddenly vanished. Let's break another lie. You've been told that your silence is petty, that going quiet means you're being immature. Folks, that's nonsense. Silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's the art of letting things unfold without your interference. Because the truth is, you can't force someone to feel your worth. You withdraw so they can wake up. And that's what's happening now. See, when you were always the one initiating contact, you were giving them comfort. You were holding space for their ego to relax. You were the emotional anchor they never had to earn. But when you remove that energy, when you stop sending the "how are you" texts, the emotional safety net rips. They fall, quietly, internally, and they won't tell you. They'll pretend they never even noticed. But deep down, they'll start wondering, why hasn't he reached out? Was he serious? Did he really just walk away? And that's where it begins, the mental spiral. That's where they replay the last things you said, not just the words, but the tone, the energy, the feeling behind it. Were you calm? Were you cold? Were you strong? They begin to look for signs they missed. They zoom into old messages. They dig through voice notes. Why? Because the silence forces them to investigate what they once ignored. But let's be real, this isn't easy for you either. The silence isn't just hitting them, it's hitting you. You wake up wondering if you made the right choice. You start checking their story, hoping for a signal. You wait for a call that doesn't come. But here's the truth. Just because something is quiet doesn't mean it's empty. Think about the ocean. From above, it looks calm. But underneath, powerful currents are moving. That's what's happening in their emotions right now. You just can't see it. And you know why most people break their silence? Because they mistake quiet for closure. They want the story to end clean, a nice message, a goodbye, a reason. But growth doesn't always come wrapped in explanation. Sometimes it comes wrapped in nothing, just stillness. And that's when real strength is tested. If you've ever asked yourself, why do I feel guilty for pulling away from someone who didn't appreciate me? Let me tell you, that guilt, that's not a sign that you did wrong. That's your inner child, still trying to earn love by overgiving. And we don't do that anymore. You didn't walk away because you were heartless. You walked away because you finally realized you were doing all the emotional lifting. You were carrying a bond that should have been held by two hands, not one. And now that you've stopped, they're going to feel the weight you used to carry, and it's going to crush their illusion. This is when they start noticing your absence in the small things, the little moments where they expect you to show up and you don't. They check their phone out of habit. They scroll through their inbox, pretending they're looking for something else. They remember your birthday and wonder if they should say something, but they don't. Not yet, because pride is loud and ego is stubborn. But silence is patient. Silence lets the ego shout until it tires itself out. So if you're sitting in that silence now, don't break, don't flinch, don't text just to check in. Let the silence do its work. Let them wrestle with the questions they tried to bury, because when they realize they don't have access to your energy anymore, the transformation begins. You were never just a message. You were never just attention. You were presence, and presence is unforgettable, especially when it disappears. Say this with me now in the comments. My silence speaks power. Type it. Show yourself. Show the world. Show them that your peace is no longer negotiable, that you're done being emotionally available to those who took your energy for granted. And stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to talk about the first unexpected thing they do when they realize you're not chasing anymore. It's subtle, it's calculated, and it's the first sign that your silence has shaken them. Chapter 2. First, they'll act like they don't care. But that's the first sign they do. The people who act like they don't care are usually the ones who care the most, just in silence, pride, and performance. Let's get one thing straight, my friends. The show they put on after you go silent, that's not confidence, it's camouflage. You stop texting and suddenly they start living their best life. Posting sunsets, gym selfies, spiritual quotes about letting go. That's not growth, that's reaction, that's ego scrambling to cover the crack your silence just created in their emotional armor. See, people don't panic on the outside right away, especially the ones who want to appear unbothered. Instead, they perform, they curate. They start playing a role, not for healing, but for control. Because in their world, the moment you stop reaching out, the question starts screaming, do I still matter to them? But they can't ask you. So instead, they start trying to convince themselves and the world watching that they're fine, that they've moved on, that nothing's changed. Let me ask you something. Have you ever seen someone try a little too hard to look happy? That laugh that sounds just a little too forced. That post that's a little too polished. That quote about healing that sounds like it was posted through clenched teeth. That's not peace. That's performance. And the fact that they're performing, that's your first confirmation. They felt it. Now here's the lie most people fall for. If they're not crying, if they're not reaching out, they must not care. Wrong. Most people care, but they care in hiding, especially if you were the one always initiating, especially if they got used to you showing up. They're not going to give you vulnerability. They're going to give you theatrics. Because real caring doesn't always look like a phone call or a text. Sometimes it looks like them trying to get a reaction out of you without having to say a word. They'll post that flirty picture. They'll tag a new person at a place you two used to go. They'll suddenly be too busy to notice you're gone. But trust me, they noticed. You just stopped feeding them the emotional supply they depended on. And now, they're starving. But they won't admit that, not out loud, not yet, because here's the truth no one wants to say. People don't always reach out because they care. They withhold because they're scared. Scared you've really moved on. Scared you're not affected. Scared that if they message you first, they'll lose the upper hand. So they retreat into the only defense mechanism they know, image. Image is everything in today's world. They're not going to show you heartbreak. They're going to show you brunch with friends, late-night drives with loud music, deep captions about self-love. But read between the lines. People don't post about healing unless they're still hurting, and they don't talk about peace unless they're still battling the war inside. You might be wondering, if they're feeling it, why won't they just say something? Because saying something means surrendering the mask. And a lot of people would rather lose a real connection than lose their emotional pride. That's the sad truth. They'll keep pretending they're over you just to maintain the illusion that they had the upper hand all along. But here's the powerful twist. Your silence doesn't confirm their control, it exposes their confusion. The moment you went quiet, you changed the game. You stopped being predictable, you stopped being available, you took away their ability to trigger you, and now they're stuck in a silent space with nothing but their own thoughts. That's when the real unraveling starts. Not publicly, but privately, quietly, slowly, and emotionally. They check your profile but don't follow. They view your stories but never react. They ask mutual friends how you're doing but act like it's casual. All of it is movement. All of it is evidence that something inside them is rattling. They just don't want you to see it. Because the moment you realize they're still affected, they lose the illusion of power they've been hiding behind. This is why it's so important to stay grounded during this phase, because this is the trap. They act like they don't care, and you panic. You see the smiles, the stories, the silence, and you break. You reach out. You check in. You hand your power right back to the performance. Don't do it. Because what they're putting on the internet isn't their truth, it's their defense, and the only way to pierce through that is not with confrontation, but with consistency. Consistency in your silence, consistency in your self-respect, consistency in the calm you now live in that they didn't value when you gave it freely. They thought the silence would break you, but what they didn't realize is that the silence was going to expose them. So when you see them acting like they're unaffected, remember this: performance is not peace. Image is not healing. And just because someone looks like they're thriving doesn't mean they're not breaking on the inside. Silence shakes egos. And if you've shaken theirs, they're going to dress up that panic in the prettiest filters they can find. Say this with me in the comments: I see through it all. Write it, own it. Let the world know that you're not falling for the show, that you've evolved past the need for fake closure, emotional games, and ego-driven battles. You're no longer here to prove your worth. You've already reclaimed it. And stay with me, because in the next chapter, we're going to expose exactly what they do next when their performance fails to pull you back. It's sneaky, it's deliberate, and it's proof that your silence is shaking them harder than you think. Chapter 3. Then come the triggers. They'll try to poke you first. When they can't feel your presence, they'll try to trigger your reaction, because any reaction, good or bad, is proof they still matter. Here's where it starts getting interesting, my friends. At first, they act like you never existed. They walk around with that fake smile, throwing quotes about detachment like they've reached Buddha-level enlightenment. But then, silence stretches, stillness deepens, and the longer you say nothing, the louder your absence gets in their head. That's when the panic sets in. That's when they shift strategies. And suddenly, they're not ignoring you anymore. They're trying to poke you, not to reconnect, not to heal, but to provoke. They want to test your temperature without getting burned. So they toss out little emotional grenades and wait to see if you'll explode. A flirty story, a song that reminds you of that night, a quote that sounds like a sub, a post that just happens to reference the exact thing you two once shared. Coincidence? Not a chance. That's bait. That's their ego whispering, "Let's see if I still have power over them." You ever seen a kid tug on a dog's tail, then pretend they weren't doing anything? That's exactly what this is. Tug, wait, peek, act innocent. That's the dance. And if you react, if you swipe up and ask, "Is that about me?" Or, "Why are you posting that?" Boom. You just gave them what they wanted. Not closure, not healing, control. Because here's what they don't say out loud. They're not mad that you left. They're mad that you didn't flinch, that you didn't beg, that your silence didn't come with a disclaimer. See, people who once had access to your emotions believe they're entitled to them forever. So when you stop giving, they'll start poking, just to check if you're still theirs emotionally. You might think, but maybe they're reaching out because they care. And sure, a small part might still feel something, but this ain't a reunion. This is a reaction test. They're not looking for love. They're scanning for control. Can they make you curious? Can they make you anxious? Can they reel you back in without lifting a finger? Let me break the lie wide open. They posted that, but it's probably not about me. Oh, my friend, it is. People don't post intimate nostalgia for the public. They post it for the one person who might read it between the lines. The one person who was there. And guess what? That's you. They're tossing emotional riddles into the air, hoping you'll solve them and slide back into the game. They want to feel powerful without reaching out first. But if you bite, if you text, comment, like, react, they win. Not because they got you back, but because you gave them confirmation. You still care, you're still watching, you're still waiting. And just like that, they relax. The panic fades. They know they haven't truly lost you yet. But here's where the power flips. When you see the bait and you walk right past it, when you read the quote, hear the song, see the picture, and you say nothing. Not out of anger, not out of ego, but because your piece isn't for sale anymore. That's when it shakes them, because now their triggers don't work. And a person who loses control over your emotions loses control over the story they told themselves about you. This is when they may even escalate it. You might get a random message. Maybe it's sarcastic, maybe it's cryptic, or even rude. Something like, "Wow, guess you don't care anymore," or "Funny how people change." These aren't deep thoughts. They're emotional darts. And if one lands, they'll know exactly where to aim next. But the truth is, most of these messages aren't even about you. They're about them, their confusion, their regret, their inability to accept that you didn't chase them like everyone else. You became a mirror. And what they're seeing? It's not your absence. It's their own emptiness. Let me tell you something powerful. You don't have to fight for your space. You don't have to defend your silence. When you don't react, you become unreadable. And unreadable means untouchable. That's what shakes them. That's what keeps them up at night. Not your anger, but your mystery. Because when you don't flinch, don't chase, don't answer their emotional riddles, they're left to sit with the question, why didn't they take the bait? And then comes the next question, have I really lost them? That's where the spiral begins. That's when their pride starts to crack. And all you had to do was nothing. Say this with me now in the comments. I don't take the bait. Type it. Show yourself. Show the version of you that's rising. The version that doesn't flinch when triggered, doesn't chase when poked, and doesn't fold when tempted. This is emotional power. This is what self-respect looks like in action. And stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to dive even deeper into what they do when the poking doesn't work, when their triggers fall flat and they're left alone with the realization that you're not reacting because you've outgrown the game. Chapter 4. They'll try replacements, but it won't work. You can't replace peace with noise and expect your soul to stay quiet. So now that the triggers didn't work, now that your silence didn't crack, they reach for the next move in the playbook. And this one? It's not subtle, it's not spiritual, it's strategic. They try to replace you, not because they're in love, but because they're in panic. Suddenly, someone new appears, a fresh face, a tagged story, a night out that looks just a little too staged. You see the smiles, the drinks, the forced intimacy that's trying way too hard to scream, "Look, I'm over it." But let's call it what it is. An illusion. A bandage, not a bond. A performance, not passion. Let me tell you something that most people won't say out loud. Replacing someone too quickly is not healing. It's hiding. You don't move on that fast unless you were already preparing the exit emotionally. And even if that's the case, what they're jumping into isn't love. It's distraction. They're not trying to connect. They're trying to forget. And the more they try to forget you, the more they end up remembering you, because the new person doesn't make them feel the way you did. And they know it. Here's the truth. When someone mattered, when someone had impact, when someone touched your mind, body, and soul in ways that weren't surface level, you don't just move on. You don't just replace that. You might pretend you can. You might dress it up in laughs and captions, but your nervous system knows better. It remembers. And now, every touch from this new person feels like an imitation of what used to be real. They're not falling in love again. They're auditioning for peace. They're dragging someone new into the space you used to fill, hoping the noise will drown out the silence you left behind. But silence doesn't disappear just because you cover it with music. In fact, the louder they try to distract themselves, the more obvious the void becomes. And that void, that's you. This is the phase where most people panic. You see them with someone else and your heart drops. You start questioning everything. Was I that easy to replace? Did I even mean anything? Is this new person better than me? But listen, this isn't about you. This is about their inability to sit in stillness. Some people can't handle emotional detox, so they self-medicate with attention. You weren't replaced. You were paused. Your energy is still echoing in their system, still lingering in their skin, still pulsing in their memories. But instead of facing it, they're running. They're not running to someone. They're running from themselves. And the scariest part, they know it. Deep down, they know it's not the same. That no matter how cute the date, how good the kiss, how fun the night is, there's something missing, something that you brought. Presence, depth, masculine calm. That silent emotional safety they never had to beg for. You see, people can mimic love, but they can't fake energy. And your energy? That was real, that was grounded, that was something they didn't know they needed until you disappeared. So they may dress someone else up in your spot, but their spirit doesn't lie. And every night, when the noise dies down, the comparison starts. That's when it hits. Why doesn't this feel the same? Why don't I feel safe anymore? Why can't I laugh the way I did with him? And you're over here building, healing, leveling up, posting nothing, saying nothing, but becoming everything. And that contrast, it starts eating at them, because the person they tried to replace you with wasn't real. It was a placeholder. And a placeholder can't hold space for the kind of connection you gave. Let me break it down even harder. When someone jumps into a new relationship without processing the last one, they don't bond, they bleed. They bring old wounds into new rooms. They transfer emotions instead of transforming them. And eventually, that relationship collapses under the weight of unhealed regret. Because it wasn't built on truth, it was built on escape. And while they're out there trying to pretend they've moved on, guess what they're actually doing? Comparing. Constantly. Comparing your words to the new person's tone, your touch to their awkward gestures, your presence to the awkward silences. And the more they compare, the more they realize you weren't the problem. You were the piece they weren't ready to receive. Say this with me now in the comments. I'm irreplaceable energy. Type it. Feel it. Let it burn through every lie they made you believe about your worth. You are not a phase. You are not an X. You are a standard. And no copycat can replace the kind of calm, power, and depth you brought into that connection. And stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to talk about what happens when that replacement fails. When the mask slips, the regret creeps in, and they finally start wondering if letting you go was the biggest mistake they ever made. Chapter 5. When you stay silent, you become a mystery. Again. When they can no longer predict you, you become unforgettable. Let's get into the real shift now, my friends, because this is the part where silence stops being just quiet and starts becoming power. You've stopped contacting them. You didn't play the anger game. You didn't beg for clarity. You didn't chase closure. You went silent, not out of pettiness, but out of presence. You chose your peace over their chaos. And now, you're no longer just the one who stopped texting. You're becoming the mystery that haunts their mind. See, when you were always available, always the one to initiate, to explain, to check in, they had a grip on your energy, a full emotional map. They could predict how you'd react, when you'd call, what you'd say. But now, they're blind. You've disappeared from their emotional GPS. And that unavailability doesn't push them away. It pulls them deeper into their own thoughts. Mystery isn't created by changing who you are. Mystery is born the moment someone can no longer read you. Now they're scrolling your page, looking for clues, watching your stories silently, hovering over your old messages, remembering the rhythm of your words, checking mutual friends' stories to catch a glimpse of what you're doing. And every post you don't make, every word you don't send becomes louder than a shout. You've taken away the script, and now they're lost in the silence. Let me tell you something. People crave what they don't understand, and the moment you stop explaining yourself, you become that craving. They start wondering, what are they thinking? Did they move on? Was I just a phase? And they spiral, not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't. Here's the trap, though. The moment you sense them noticing, your ego might whisper, just post something to make them see what they lost. Or worse, send that one message. Remind them who you are. But no, that's not how mystery works. That's how you kill it. See, mystery isn't about showing off. It's about holding back. It's about letting the unanswered question do the work for you. You don't need to flaunt your progress. You don't need to make noise to prove your worth. Real power is quiet. Real power is untraceable. And right now, while they're trying to provoke you into responding, you're walking the path most people don't have the discipline for. You're choosing the long game. You're letting their curiosity grow until it becomes a craving they can't quiet. You may be thinking, but what if they never come back? That fear, that's not you. That's your wounded self speaking. That's the part of you that still thinks love has to be earned through proving, chasing, explaining. But the healed version of you knows this. If you have to chase it, it was never love. It was survival. You're done surviving. You're done performing for people who couldn't see your value unless it was in their face every day. Now, you're the one walking away without closing the door, but without leaving it open either. You're just gone, calm, grounded, silent. And that silence? That's the sound of someone who no longer needs to be seen to feel secure. Let me give you a metaphor. Think of your silence like fog. At first, it's confusing. They wave their hands around, trying to find you in it. But the more they search, the more lost they feel. And in that disorientation, something happens. They start remembering who you really were. Not the you they criticized, minimized, or overlooked, but the you that gave them safety, stillness, depth, that emotional clarity they can't find in anyone else. And when someone starts remembering you through the lens of absence, not arguments, not mistakes, but the space you once filled, you stop being a memory and start becoming a presence again, not physically, psychologically, and that's where the obsession begins. This is what they don't tell you when a man goes quiet, but not bitter, when he stays grounded and doesn't lash out. He doesn't fade, he expands, in their mind, in their nervous system, in their unspoken regrets. They won't admit it out loud, but now you're the first thought in the quiet. The face they see when they hear that one song, the presence they feel when they try to laugh with someone else and it doesn't hit the same. You've become the one who's everywhere, without being anywhere. Because that's what mystery does. It doesn't need proof. It doesn't need presence. It just lingers. Say this with me in the comments. I am the mystery. Write it. Show them. Show yourself. Because that's who you are now. Not someone seeking attention, but someone commanding it without trying. That's what happens when you stay silent with strength. Not to hurt them, but to heal you. And in doing that, you became the one they can't stop thinking about. Stay with me, because in the next chapter, we'll talk about the moment they start remembering only the best parts of you, the highlight reel that plays in their head on loop, and how that nostalgia, mixed with regret, becomes a storm they never expected. Chapter 6. They'll romanticize what they took for granted. You never miss the warmth until the fire's gone and the room turns cold. Now here's where the emotional rewind begins. Not in logic, but in memory. You stayed silent. You didn't explain yourself. You didn't chase, beg, or justify. And while they were pretending to be fine on the outside, something quietly cracked on the inside, because silence isn't empty. It's a mirror. And eventually, that mirror starts playing scenes they thought they'd forgotten. But now, they can't stop remembering. They don't remember the arguments. They don't remember the distance, the confusion, the misunderstandings. No, the mind, especially when filled with regret, has a funny way of editing the truth. It throws out the chaos and keeps the comfort. It cuts the low notes and loops the melody. And suddenly, you're not the guy they dismissed. You're the one who made them feel seen. They start romanticizing the best parts of you, the little things, the way you looked at them without saying a word, the way you knew when they were anxious without them having to explain, the way your voice grounded them at 1 a.m. when the rest of the world felt like too much. That one night where time stopped and it felt like the universe was finally quiet. That's the version of you they remember now, the one they didn't appreciate when it was right in front of them. You know why? Because now that version of you is gone. You see, most people don't realize what they had until they try to find it somewhere else and fail. And now, they're failing. No one else makes them feel the same. No one's energy fits the way yours did. That laugh with the new person doesn't echo the same way. That conversation doesn't feel as safe. That connection feels shallow compared to the depth you brought without even trying. And it hurts, but they won't tell you that. Not directly. They'll sit with those memories. They'll scroll through old pictures pretending they're just clearing their gallery. They'll reread your messages, telling themselves it's just nostalgia. But it's not. It's realization. Slow, painful realization that they didn't just lose a person. They lost a presence. Because here's the truth, your energy was rare, and when someone gets used to rare, they mistake it for routine, until it's gone. And when it's gone, the silence becomes a haunted house. Every corner echoes with what used to be, And here's what most men get wrong during this phase. They jump back in too early. They see signs, feel the shift, hear from a friend that they had been asking about you, and they take it as an invitation. Don't. Because right now, they are not reaching out from clarity. They're reaching out from craving. And cravings aren't commitments. Cravings are emotional flashes. Moments where the pain becomes louder than the pride. Let it build, because if you give them the version of you that's still half wounded, half hoping, half waiting, they'll lose respect again. But if you keep growing, healing, rising in silence, then every good memory they replays becomes part of the myth. And the myth of you becomes more powerful than the reality ever was. Think of it like this. You were a home they didn't realize they lived in. They walked through your rooms, touched your heart, took showers in your presence, but never stopped to look around, never appreciated the architecture, the stillness, the safety. But now that they're outside, trying to recreate that same feeling in unfamiliar places, they realizes nothing feels like you. That's the moment the romanticizing turns into regret. They remembers the dinners, the inside jokes, the times you laughed so hard your stomach hurt. They remembers how you listened without fixing, how you held them without needing anything in return. And those memories, they don't fade. They ferment. They grow stronger, sweeter, sharper. Now they are seeing your worth in reverse, through absence. But here's the part you must understand. This only works if you don't interrupt the process. Don't post reminders of your worth. Don't message them your growth updates. Don't try to control how they saw you. Let memory do the work. Let time polish the version of you they didn't respect until now. Because that version, that's the one they are falling for all over again, in their mind, not in your inbox. They may not text you, they may not say a word, but they remembering, they feeling, and they questioning themselves in ways they never did before. Why did I pull away from someone who gave me peace? Why did I act like I didn't care when I clearly did? Did I make a mistake I can't fix? And those questions, they're far more powerful than any confession, because when someone starts asking themselves why they let you go, they begin searching for ways to pull you back in. But you keep walking, you keep healing, you keep glowing in silence, because the man who can let go with grace becomes the man they can't forget. Say this with me in the comments. I am not replaceable. Write it, feel it, let it shake off every lie that said you weren't enough. You weren't too much. You were too real, too stable, too peaceful, and peace. That's the one thing people don't realize they need until it's no longer there. Stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to break down how they test the waters, softly, secretly, trying to peek back into your life without fully stepping through the door, and how your next move, done wrong, could cost you everything. Chapter 7. They'll test the waters softly. The quietest reach is often the most revealing. By now, the silence has done its job, the memories have softened, the illusions have cracked, the comparison games failed, and now they're getting curious, but not loud curious, not bold. They're not going to come crashing into your inbox with an emotional confession. No, that's not how this part goes. Instead, they test the waters, gently, subtly, with a softness that almost looks innocent. It might start with a reaction to your story, a heart emoji, a lol to something that isn't even that funny, maybe a meme, one that only you two would understand. It seems casual, harmless. But don't be fooled. This is calculated. This is a check for access, a test. They want to know, are you still emotionally available? They won't say, I miss you. They'll say, hey, stranger. They won't say, I regret letting you go. They'll ask, still listening to that one song? But underneath that message, there's a storm of uncertainty. There's vulnerability wearing a mask of cool, because before they dive back in, they want to know if the door is even still cracked open. And the way you respond, or don't, tells them everything. And this, right here, is where most people lose the game. Because you've waited, you've missed them, you've imagined this moment. So the second it arrives, your emotions flood the room. You respond too quickly, too warmly, too eagerly. You dive back in with a full heart, forgetting the very pain that taught you to stay grounded. And just like that, the power reverses. The mystery dies. The respect fades. Not because you're a bad person, but because they weren't ready to feel your depth again. They wanted to test. You gave them the whole ocean. But you're better than that now. You've grown. You've rebuilt yourself in silence. You've faced nights where your fingers hovered over the keyboard, aching to send something, and you didn't. You stayed strong. And that strength, that's the version of you they were hoping didn't exist, because that version doesn't flinch at breadcrumbs. So when they reach out, don't be cruel, but don't be eager. Don't play games, but don't rush to explain yourself either. You respond from your frame, not your feelings. You stay kind, but calm, warm, but detached, available, but not chasing. Because what they're really looking for in that moment is who you've become. Not the man who used to overgive, not the version who settled for emotional breadcrumbs. They're trying to see, did he really change? Is he still holding that peace? Is his silence strength or just spite? And if your response says, I'm still centered, if your energy says, I haven't waited, I've evolved, if your tone says, I'm not mad, I'm just different now, that's when their respect returns. That's when they realize you're not the man who walked away in weakness. You're the man who walked away because you finally remembered your value. So don't rush, don't prove, don't chase. Let them test the water, but you stay standing on the shore, calm, whole, unmoved. Because the real test isn't if they come back, it's who you are when they do. Say this with me one last time in the comments. I've changed forever. Write it. Claim it. This isn't about getting someone back. It's about never losing yourself again. And if this message cracked something open in you, if it reminded you of your power, your peace, your worth, hit that like button. Share this with a brother who's struggling to stay silent. Subscribe to this channel so you never forget who you're becoming. Your silence isn't the end of a story. It's the beginning of your transformation. This is Think Jessica, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay calm, stay powerful, stay unreachable to the games you've outgrown.